No, he gladly just accepted the gifts of hospitality. I'm also thinking about the story of the Bethany, the anointing at Bethany, where a woman, supposedly a sinner, wanted to massage Jesus' hair and scalp with an expensive oil that she had made. And he accepted the gift. And his apostles were really just quite upset. How could he, when that oil could fetch a lot of money out in the marketplace? But Jesus realized that there was a bigger picture here. This was part of her healing as he accepted that gift. And he gladly did. Which leads me to a personal story about giving and receiving. When my husband David and I were living in the Chicago area prior to moving out here, he decided to take one of those man's vacations. He actually came out here to the Seattle area, went up to the North Cascades, no cell phone, kind of roughing it, hiking for a week, that sort of thing. He was stressed out, and of course I said, absolutely, go. At that time we had 2 cats who got along great. I mean, they'd been together for years, never had a fight. All of a sudden, probably within 2 days of him leaving, they started having a really bad cat fight. I mean, blood, just all this noise. It was terrible. So I separated them because I had to figure out what on earth was going on. Well, what I saw was out on our deck was this cute little female cat strutting her stuff and getting my boys very upset. And she had kittens, and they were living under our deck. So, luckily at that time, I was a volunteer at an animal shelter. I explained my situation to the cat manager, who willingly loaned me a humane trap, but she told me I was going to need help because transferring feral cats from a humane trap to a crate, which is what I would have to do, was going to require at least 2 people because it was very dangerous. And I thought, oh, good grief. Can this wait until David comes home? No, I was going to have to ask for help. So I went to our next door neighbors and I explained the situation to the woman, and she said, oh, my kids would love to help you. Her kids were about 10 and 12 years old, certainly old enough to manage a crate and help me just hold things in place. So we spoke with the kids, and they said, absolutely, we'd love to help you with this. So we set up the trap, and every couple of hours I'd go and I'd check, and finally we caught the mom and 1 kitten. So I went running over to the next door neighbors, knocked on the door, we've got some. So the kids, suited up, and we got the cats from the trap to the crate, and we set the trap out again to catch the other ones, and a couple of hours later I went and checked, and sure enough, we had them again, and called the neighbor kids, they came over. So by that night, we had the whole family together in this big, huge crate with fresh food and fresh water, and there was a sense of real accomplishment for all of us. The next morning, we took the family to the animal shelter, and the kids came with me. We gave the cats to the intake manager, and this was the first time for the kids to tour an animal shelter. So we spent some time just touring the animal shelter, and afterwards I took them out for ice cream, gave them $10, and, called it a day. David came home, told him about all the drama he missed. My cats got back together, everything was fine. 2 months later, I saw my neighbor again, the mother, and she thanked me for allowing her kids to be part of this experience. That was a life-changing experience for those kids. They had saved a family of cats and gave them hope for life and adoption. This was just a huge, huge event for them. They couldn't wait for school to start so they could tell all their friends and their teacher how exciting and what they did that summer. This experience even outbeat the family all-inclusive vacation in Jamaica. I could never have guessed that. All I knew was that I had to ask because I needed some help. So I ask, who was giving and who was receiving here? I received the assistance, and the kids gave me the help. For these kids, I gave them the opportunity, and they received an incredible life-changing experience. So this is what I'm talking about. By not asking for help, by not asking for what we want or need, by not accepting a gift from another person, whether it is a gift of help or picking up a tab now and then, we have no idea what we're blocking. We have no idea the consequences of not receiving. Ask, and you shall receive. I'd like to share another gospel story with you. John chapter 13, 3-9. Jesus knew that the Father had put everything under his power. He also knew he had come from God and was returning to God. He got up from the meal and took off his outer clothes. He wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a large bowl. Then he began to wash his disciples' feet. He dried them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter. "Lord," Peter said to him, "are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you will never wash my feet." And Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you can't share life with me." "Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, wash my hands and my head too." What this story speaks to me about is accepting another person's gift no matter the circumstances. I know we've all been Simon Peter before, where a gift has just completely overwhelmed us, and we've wanted to say no. Maybe next time we'll all think twice. Edwin Gaines, the author of Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, says, on this spiritual pathway, you're going to get a lot of gifts, and you have to accept them all because you bless the giver when you receive them, even if you don't want them. Someone did tell me recently that the one gift that you certainly can not accept is the gift of guilt. That you can recycle. Who remembers the show Seinfeld? Yeah. I don't know if you remember there was one episode on re-gifting. Yeah, and how bad etiquetely that is. You just don't re-gift. Well, according to Edwin Gaines, yes, you do. Regifting is fine. If the gift is not something that is appropriate for you, giving it to someone who it is appropriate for is just fine. I heard a story when I was at Unity Village a few weeks ago that Myrtle Fillmore was a regifter. She received a beautiful handmade sweater from someone, and she thanked the woman and told her how beautiful the sweater was, and told her who she was going to give it to because Myrtle had enough sweaters and this woman desperately needed a new sweater. So that does keep the flow of giving and receiving. And some gifts may be best postponed without a doubt of using or opening. There's a story I want to share with you. There was a priest and a rabbi who were in a car crash, and it was a bad one. Both of their cars were demolished, but amazingly, neither one of them were hurt. After they crawled out of their cars, the rabbi says, "So you're a priest? Wow, I'm a rabbi. Look at our cars. There's nothing left and we're unhurt. Isn't this a miracle? Certainly this is a sign from God that we should be friends and live in peace together."